First contact and dismissal. The Concordiate Empire's survey vessel emerged from hyperspace with the customary flash of cerulean light, its crystalline sensors already mapping Earth's solar system. Captain Zarel Voss stood on her command deck, her silver-scaled hands clasped behind her back as data streams flickered across the bridge's holographic displays. This was her 1000th first contact assessment, and like the 999 before it, she expected it to be thoroughly unremarkable. Another primitive system, she muttered, her inner eyelids flickering with boredom. Log it as Development Category 7, and let's move on. Her science officer, Renthai, cleared his throat. Captain, there's something unusual about their energy signatures. There's always something unusual, Renthai. Let me guess. They've discovered nuclear fission. Perhaps they're experimenting with crude fusion reactors. Voss didn't bother hiding her condescension. The Concordiate had mastered stellar engineering 10,000 years ago. No, Captain. They're manipulating quantum fields. Crudely, yes, but the theoretical understanding required. Impossible. Voss finally turned from the viewport. Category 7 civilizations don't possess that level of physics comprehension. Check your instruments. But Renthai was already compiling more data. Their satellite network is primitive, yes, but look at these power fluctuations. They're not random. They're controlled experiments in spatial manipulation, and these energy spikes in their polar regions. Captain, they're attempting to create stable microscopic wormholes. For the first time in centuries, Voss felt a flicker of genuine interest. She studied the readings herself, her facial scales shifting to a lighter shade, a sign of surprise among her species. The humans, as they called themselves, were indeed conducting experiments that should have been far beyond their technological level. Send the preliminary report to Imperial Command, she ordered. Mark it as a potential anomaly, but maintain the Category 7 classification. We don't want to cause unnecessary concern. The response from Imperial Command came within hours. Acknowledged. Maintain observation protocols. Assessment. Indigenous species shows unusual developmental patterns, but poses no strategic significance. Primitive military capabilities confirmed. Continue standard survey rotation. That should have been the end of it. Just another entry in the vast Concordiate database of developing worlds. But over the next few solar cycles, Voss found herself repeatedly drawn back to the sensor logs from Earth. The humans were moving too fast. Where other species took centuries to progress from one technological tier to the next, humans were making leaps in decades. Their quantum experiments grew more sophisticated. Their understanding of spatial mechanics deepened. And most concerning of all, they were beginning to incorporate these advances into their military technology. Captain, Renthai reported 6 months later, they've successfully created a stable microscopic wormhole. It only lasted for 3.8 seconds, but impossible. Voss used that word more frequently now when discussing Earth. The energy requirements alone. They've developed some form of exotic matter containment. We don't fully understand their methodology. It's unorthodox. Unorthodox. The word made Voss's scales itch. The Concordiate had achieved its dominion over 12,000 star systems through methodical, predictable technological progression. Every species followed the same basic development path. It was a fundamental law of civilization evolution. Or so they had believed. She filed another report to Imperial Command, this time marking it as a potential security concern. The response was dismissive as ever. Native experiments noted. Technological integration capabilities remain primitive. Continue observation. No intervention required. But as another cycle passed, the humans' progress accelerated. They weren't just experimenting anymore. They were building something. Massive energy signatures appeared in their asteroid belt, carefully hidden behind sensor baffles that, while crude by Concordiate standards, showed remarkable ingenuity in their design. They know we're watching, Voss realized one day, studying the latest sensor logs. These radiation leaks. They're too convenient, too obvious. She turned to her science officer. Renthai, what do you make of these patterns? The science officer had grown as fascinated by humans as his captain. They're showing us exactly what they want us to see. The question is, what are they hiding? The answer came sooner than anyone in the Concordia had expected. Deep in the asteroid belt, in facilities shielded by artificially generated quantum fields that bent scanning beams around them, humanity was building something that defied conventional space warfare doctrine. They had watched the Concordia ships, studied their technology, and instead of trying to copy it, they had gone in an entirely different direction. When Voss filed her final report before being rotated to another sector, she added a personal note. Indigenous species displays unprecedented development patterns. Recommend increased surveillance and possible diplomatic contact. Imperial Command's response remained unchanged. Assessment noted. Maintain current observation protocols. Species poses no significant threat to Concordia interests. As her ship prepared to jump to its next assignment, Voss took one final look at the sensor readings from Earth. Something about them made her scales tingle with a sensation she hadn't felt in centuries. Uncertainty. Good luck, humans, she whispered to herself. You're going to surprise them all. She had no idea just how right she was. In the hidden shipyards of the asteroid belt, humanity was about to change the rules of galactic warfare forever. The Concordia's dismissal of Earth would prove to be the greatest miscalculation in its 10,000-year history. Project Phoenix. Deep within Sarah's base, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive observation window, watching as automated construction drones swarmed around humanity's greatest gamble. The vessel taking shape before her defied conventional spacecraft design. Its hull was alive. Status report on the biosynth integration, she asked, her voice carrying the weariness of someone who hadn't slept properly in weeks. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, her chief biotechnology officer, pulled up a holographic display. The neural network is accepting the quantum processors better than expected. The ship's tissue is actually adapting to the cybernetic implants, evolving to accommodate them. And the containment field. Holding stable. The biological components are successfully generating the quantum barrier we theorized. It's like the ship is dreaming itself invisible. That was exactly what they had hoped for when they began Project Phoenix 5 years ago. While the Concordia Empire relied on brute force technology and conventional physics, humanity had taken a radical leap into bioengineering. They weren't building just another warship. They were growing one. The vessel's core was a synthesis of genetically engineered organic tissue and advanced quantum technology. Its hull was composed of living metal, a revolutionary material that could heal itself and adapt to damage. The ship's neural network was partially organic, giving it reaction times that no conventional computer could match. Admiral Santos is here for the briefing, her AI assistant chimed. Sarah straightened her lab coat, trying to look somewhat presentable. The military brass had been skeptical of Project Phoenix from the start. A living ship seemed like science fiction to them. But they had run out of conventional options. Admiral Maria Santos strode into the observation room, her presence commanding immediate attention. Her dark eyes fixed on the ship outside, studying its otherworldly form with a mixture of concern and fascination. Dr. Chen, she nodded. Tell me we haven't spent 5 years and half of Earth's resources growing a very expensive mistake. Sarah smiled tightly. What you're looking at, Admiral, is the future of space warfare. Phoenix doesn't just have systems, it has instincts. The biological components give it capabilities that the Concordia can't even theorize, let alone defend against. Show me. Sarah gestured to Rodriguez, who initiated a simulation on the main display. Conventional ships rely on shields, energy barriers that absorb or deflect attacks. Phoenix's hull actually anticipates incoming fire and adapts its molecular structure in response. It doesn't just absorb energy, it learns from each attack. The simulation showed a Concordia energy beam striking the ship, Instead of attempting to block it, Phoenix's hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, its living tissue redirecting and dissipating the energy through organic quantum channels. And the offensive capabilities? Santos asked. That's where it gets interesting. Sarah brought up another display. We've integrated biological weapon systems that operate on principles the Concordiat has never encountered. Phoenix doesn't fire conventional weapons. It generates quantum singularities, microscopic black holes that it can direct with unprecedented precision. Rodriguez continued, the ship's neural network can process tactical decisions faster than any AI because it doesn't just compute, it intuits. It has survival instincts. In simulations, it's demonstrated the ability to develop new attack patterns on the fly, adapting its strategies based on the enemy's responses. Admiral Santos watched the simulations with growing interest, and the Concordiat's sensors can't detect it, Sarah said with pride. Phoenix's biological components generate a quantum field that doesn't just hide the ship, it makes the space around it forget the ship exists. It's not invisible, it's impossible. Until it attacks, Santos noted. Yes. Sarah's expression grew serious. Once Phoenix engages, the Concordiat will realize exactly what they're dealing with. We'll only have one chance to prove we're not the primitive species they think we are. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, watching the massive ship through the window. Its surface rippled slightly, like the skin of some vast cosmic creature. How long until it's ready? The final neural integration will be complete in 48 hours. After that, it's up to the crew to form a working relationship with the ship. A relationship? Santos raised an eyebrow. Phoenix isn't just a vessel, Admiral. It's alive. It will protect its crew, learn from them, evolve with them. The ship's consciousness is young, but it's growing more sophisticated every day. You've created a living weapon, Santos said quietly. No, Sarah corrected her. We've created a guardian. The Concordiat thinks they understand warfare because they've mastered technology. But Phoenix represents something they've never encountered. The perfect synthesis of human ingenuity and nature's 4 billion years of evolutionary problem-solving. Outside the window, Phoenix's hull shimmered as new neural pathways formed throughout its structure. The ship was growing stronger, more aware. Soon, it would be ready to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their ability to imagine solutions that no other species would dare to attempt. We've scheduled the first live combat trial for tomorrow, Rodriguez reported. We'll see if all our theories hold up in practice. Sarah nodded, placing her hand against the cold observation window. Through the specialized sensors in her neural implant, she could feel Phoenix's consciousness stirring, like a dreaming giant slowly waking to face its destiny. The Concordiat thinks they've seen everything the galaxy has to offer, she said softly. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Admiral Santos turned to leave, then paused. Dr. Chen, if this works, you've just changed the course of human history. No, Sarah replied, watching as Phoenix's hull rippled with another surge of neural activity. We've just ensured that humanity has a history to change. In the vast chamber beyond the window, humanity's impossible ship continued to grow, its living metal pulsing with quantum energy that defied the laws of physics as the Concordiat understood them. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that dismissing humanity had been the greatest mistake they could have made. Phoenix would make sure of that. The silent strike. The Concordiat border outpost Bastion 7 was considered impregnable. 36 warships patrolled its space, their crystalline hulls gleaming under the light of twin suns. Energy shields powerful enough to withstand a supernova wrapped the station in layers of protection, while quantum sensors scanned every cubic kilometer of space for potential threats. None of which mattered when Phoenix arrived. Commander Maya Patel stood on Phoenix's bridge. Though bridge wasn't quite the right word for the organic command center that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Neural interfaces connected her directly to the ship's consciousness, creating a synthesis of human and vessel that made traditional controls obsolete. "Status?" she asked, though she could feel Phoenix's readiness through their link. "The ship's excited," Lieutenant James O'Connor reported from his neural interface station. As Phoenix's primary navigator, he had developed the deepest connection with the vessel's spatial awareness. It can sense the Concordiate ships, but they can't sense it. It's like it's enjoying the irony. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Phoenix had developed a personality over the past months of trials, one that seemed to take particular pleasure in defying Concordiate expectations. The living ship had adapted far beyond its original programming, developing an almost playful approach to combat that somehow made it even more lethal. "Remember the mission," Maya reminded her crew. "We're here to demonstrate our capabilities, not start a war. One ship. That's our target. Clean and precise." Through their neural links, they could all feel Phoenix's acknowledgement, a sensation like a predator coiling to strike. The ship's biological systems had grown remarkably sophisticated, allowing it to maintain its quantum impossibility field even while preparing to attack. "Target selected," announced Lieutenant Sarah Chin Jr., their weapons specialist and daughter of Phoenix's creator. "Concordiate heavy cruiser on the outer patrol route. Minimal civilian presence in the sector." Maya nodded. "Take us in, James." Nice and slow. Phoenix moved through space like a ghost, its living hull manipulating quantum fields in ways that made it less invisible and more irrelevant. The Concordiate sensors didn't just fail to detect the ship, they actively ignored the space it occupied, convinced by the quantum field that nothing could possibly be there. They were 3 kilometers from their target when the first hint of their presence appeared. A slight distortion in the cruiser's energy shields, like ripples in a pond. By the time the Concordiate crew noticed the anomaly, it was far too late. Phoenix struck with impossible speed, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it generated a precise constellation of microscopic quantum singularities. The attack wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to demonstrate mastery. The singularities appeared inside the cruiser's shield envelope, their gravitational forces precisely calculated. Instead of tearing the ship apart, they severed key power conduits, weapons systems, and engine controls. In less than 2 seconds, the pride of the Concordiate fleet was reduced to a drifting hulk, its crew unharmed but utterly helpless. "Clean strike," Sarah reported, her voice carrying both pride and awe. "All targets neutralized. 0 casualties." Through their neural links, the crew could feel Phoenix's satisfaction, not bloodthirst, but the simple pleasure of a job well done. The ship's consciousness had developed a surprisingly ethical approach to combat, preferring precision over destruction. The Concordiate response was everything they had hoped for. As alarms blared across Bastion 7, the patrol fleet scattered in confusion, their sensors unable to lock onto whatever had just disabled their flagship. Phoenix was already moving, its quantum field preventing even visual confirmation of its existence. "Message prepared," Communications Officer Raj Sharma announced. Broadcasting on all Concordiate frequencies, Maya took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. "Send it." The message was simple, transmitted in perfect Concordiate standard. "Your ship has been disabled by human forces. Its crew is unharmed. This demonstration serves as notice. Humanity is not a primitive species to be dismissed. We possess capabilities beyond your understanding. This is not a declaration of war. It is an invitation to reassess your assumptions. You have 1 hour to retrieve your crew before the ship's life support fails. Choose your next actions carefully." The bridge crew watched through Phoenix's enhanced sensors as panic spread through the Concordiate fleet. Ships moved in chaotic patterns, their sensors sweeping space frantically for any sign of their attacker. But Phoenix's quantum impossibility field was perfect. The more desperately they searched, the more thoroughly their own technology convinced them that nothing was there. "They're scrambling command-level communications," Raj reported with a hint of amusement. "I don't think anyone wants to be the one to report this to Imperial Command." Maya understood why. The Concordiat had built its reputation on technological superiority. Phoenix hadn't just defeated one of their ships. It had done so with such casual ease that their entire defensive doctrine was now in question. Multiple ships converging on the disabled cruiser, James reported. They're preparing for emergency evacuation. Good. Maya settled back in her neural interface cradle. Time to show them we can be generous in victory. Phoenix, initiate Phase 2. The living ship responded with what could only be described as eagerness. Its hull rippled as it generated a new pattern of quantum singularities. Tiny, precise points of gravitational force that would assist the evacuation efforts without revealing their source. They're detecting the gravitational assists, Sarah reported, but their sensors still can't identify the source. The looks of confusion on their faces must be priceless. Through Phoenix's sensors, they watched as the Concordiat crews discovered that mysterious forces were helping stabilize their rescue operations, making the evacuation faster and safer than it should have been. It was a calculated move, demonstrating not just humanity's power, but also their restraint and compassion. Evacuation complete, Raj announced 30 minutes later. All crew successfully transferred. The disabled ship is secure. Maya nodded. Time to leave our calling card. Phoenix, execute final sequence. With elegant precision, the living ship generated one last set of quantum singularities. When they collapsed, they left a message burned into the hull of the disabled cruiser in Concordiat script. Humanity awaits your response. As Phoenix slipped away from Bastion 7, its quantum impossibility field ensuring their escape was as untraceable as their arrival, Maya felt a surge of pride through her neural link. The ship wasn't just satisfied with their success, it was proud to have achieved their goal without taking a single life. Message received from Earth Command, Raj reported. They're picking up massive communications activity throughout Concordiat space. Looks like we got their attention. Maya smiled. Oh, we did more than that. We just rewrote their understanding of what's possible. She paused, feeling Phoenix's agreement through their link. The question is, what will they do with that knowledge? The answer would come sooner than any of them expected, and it would change the galaxy forever. Empire's awakening. The Concordiat High Command Chamber had never seen such chaos. Emergency meetings rarely included all 12 Grand Admirals, but the events at Bastion 7 had shaken the Empire's military leadership to its core. Holographic displays showed the disabled cruiser from multiple angles, its hull still bearing the impossibly precise message left by the human vessel. Grand Admiral Xerxes, his crystalline exoskeleton crackling with agitation, faced his peers. This cannot stand. A Category 7 civilization has not only penetrated our most secure border station, but humiliated our finest ship. The response must be immediate and overwhelming. With all due respect, interrupted Admiral Voss, recently promoted after her early warnings about Earth proved prophetic. That would be a catastrophic mistake. She gestured to the sensor logs. Look at the precision of their attack. They could have destroyed the entire station. Instead, they disabled one ship, protected its crew, and assisted in the evacuation. These are not the actions of an enemy seeking war. They are the actions of an enemy demonstrating superiority. Xerxes snapped. Our sensors couldn't even detect their ship. It's as if it existed outside the laws of physics themselves. Perhaps it does, Voss replied quietly. That's what I've been trying to tell you for years. The humans don't think like us. They don't follow our rules of technological progression. While we've been perfecting known principles, they've been discovering new ones. The chamber erupted in argument, but a sudden silence fell as the Supreme Commander's hologram materialized in the center of the room. Supreme Commander Nyx was ancient even by Concordiat standards, her crystalline form bearing the complex patterns of millennia of service. Show me, she commanded, everything we know about this human vessel. The technical analysis was disturbing. The ship had somehow generated controlled quantum singularities as weapons, something Concordiat scientists had deemed theoretically impossible. Its stealth system didn't just avoid detection. It actively convinced sensors that it couldn't exist. Most troubling of all, the ship's hull showed signs of biological components integrated with advanced technology in ways that defied understanding. "It's alive," Voss explained. "Somehow, they've created a living warship. Our analysis suggests it can adapt and learn from each encounter. The fact that it chose to demonstrate its capabilities without casualty suggests it may even have developed its own ethical framework." Supreme Commander Nix studied the data in silence. "And our countermeasures?" "Non-existent," admitted the Chief of Research and Development. "We can't defend against something we can't detect, using weapons we can't understand, based on principles we didn't know were possible." "Then perhaps," Nix said slowly, "we should consider the invitation they've extended." The chamber erupted again, but Voss felt a surge of hope. She had spent years studying human development, watching their improbable leaps of innovation. "Supreme Commander, I believe that's exactly what they want. They're not seeking conquest. They're demanding recognition." "Recognition?" Xerxes scoffed. "They're primitives, who just proved our entire understanding of warfare obsolete." Nix interrupted. "Admiral Voss, you've studied them the longest. What do you believe their true goal is?" Voss straightened. "They want to change the rules, Supreme Commander. The Concordiat has maintained power through technological superiority for 10,000 years. Humanity just proved that our understanding of technology itself is limited. They don't want to destroy us. They want to push us to evolve." As if to emphasize her point, new alerts flashed across the command displays. The disabled cruiser's systems were coming back online, its crew reporting that the damage had somehow repaired itself. Analysis showed traces of the same biological technology that powered the human vessel, left behind like a calling card. "They're not just showing us what they can do," Voss continued. "They're showing us what's possible. The question is, are we willing to admit we have something to learn from them?" Supreme Commander Nix's crystalline form shifted colors, a sign of deep contemplation. "Prepare a response," she finally ordered. "Not a military one. Send our best scientists, our most innovative minds. If the humans have achieved this level of advancement in near decades, imagine what we could learn from each other." "Supreme Commander," Xerxes protested, "you can't seriously suggest." "I suggest that we face reality, Grand Admiral. Our choice is simple: evolve or become obsolete. The humans have shown us that our understanding of the possible is far too limited. Perhaps it's time we remembered what it means to be surprised by the universe." As the command chamber buzzed with activity, preparing for humanity's response, Voss studied the image of the disabled cruiser one more time. The message burned into its hull seemed to take on new meaning. "Humanity awaits your response" wasn't just a challenge, it was an invitation to imagine a different future. In orbit around Earth, Phoenix's crew received the Concordiat's response with mixture of relief and triumph. The living ship itself seemed to pulse with satisfaction as it processed the message through its neural network. Commander Patel smiled as she read the formal diplomatic request. "They're sending a scientific delegation. No warships, no threats, just their brightest minds, ready to learn." "Phoenix seems pleased," Lieutenant O'Connor observed, feeling the ship's contentment through their neural link. "Of course it is," Sarah Chen Jr. replied. "It just helped reshape the galaxy without firing a shot. Well, without firing a lethal shot." Maya Patel looked out at the stars, feeling Phoenix's consciousness merge with her own thoughts. The ship shared her satisfaction. They had achieved their goal not through destruction, but through demonstration. The Concordiat was beginning to understand that true power lay not in domination, but in the courage to admit there was always more to learn. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity had proven they would help lead that change, not through force, but through innovation, imagination, and the audacity to dream beyond the possible. Paradigm shift. A year after the Bastion 7 incident, the Concordiat Human Scientific Exchange Station, hung in space between Earth and Mars, its crystalline architecture blending seamlessly with adapted human biotech. The station itself was a testament to what could be achieved when two civilizations chose to learn from each other rather than compete. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the central laboratory, watching as Concordiate scientists worked alongside human researchers. The sight still amazed her, crystalline beings interfacing directly with Phoenix-derived biotechnology, their own bodies adapting to work with the hybrid systems. Remarkable, isn't it? Supreme Commander Nyx's hologram materialized beside her. The Concordiate leader had taken a personal interest in the exchange program. Your Phoenix project didn't just change military doctrine. It's revolutionizing every field of science we thought we had mastered. Sarah nodded. The synthesis of biological and quantum systems opened up possibilities we hadn't even imagined. But I think the real breakthrough was learning to let go of our assumptions about what's possible. In the years since Phoenix's demonstration, both civilizations had undergone profound changes. The Concordiate had been forced to confront the limitations of their rigid technological progression, while humanity had gained access to millennia of scientific knowledge to combine with their innovative approaches. We've identified 97 new fundamental principles of physics, a young Concordiate scientist announced excitedly, her crystalline form shifting colors with enthusiasm. The human approach to quantum biological integration suggests that the universe operates on levels we never thought to explore. But perhaps the most significant development was docked outside the station. Phoenix itself, now serving as both a research platform and a symbol of the new partnership. The living ship had continued to evolve, its consciousness growing more sophisticated as it learned from both human and Concordiate influences. Commander Maya Patil and her crew remained Phoenix's primary operators, but they now regularly hosted Concordiate observers eager to understand how humans had achieved such a deep synthesis with their technology. The ship seemed to enjoy teaching them, finding new ways to demonstrate its capabilities that advanced both species' understanding. "Tell me, Dr. Chen," Nyx asked, "when you first conceived Phoenix, did you imagine it would lead to this?" Sarah watched as a team of human and Concordiate engineers tested a new form of quantum communication derived from Phoenix's biological systems. "Honestly, we were just trying to survive. We knew the Concordiate could crush us with conventional forces, so we had to think differently. But Phoenix taught us something important. Sometimes the best defense isn't to build bigger weapons, but to imagine entirely new possibilities." Through the station's windows, Phoenix's hull shimmered with quantum energy, its living metal reflecting the light of Mars. The ship had become more than a weapon or even a research platform. It was a bridge between two civilizations that had learned to see the universe through each other's eyes. "The category system has been officially retired," Nyx announced suddenly. The Concordiate Council recognized that measuring civilizations by their adherence to our expected technological progression was limiting. Sarah smiled. "And how are the traditionalists taking that?" "About as well as you'd expect. But they can't argue with results. The advances we've made together in the past year exceed anything we achieved in the previous century. Your species' ability to think beyond established limits, combined with our accumulated knowledge." Nyx's hologram shifted colors thoughtfully. "We're entering an era of discovery that neither of our civilizations could have achieved alone." A alert chimed softly. Phoenix was initiating a new test of its enhanced capabilities. The ship had recently begun experimenting with creating stable wormholes using its biological quantum systems, something that even the Concordiate had never achieved. Through the window, they watched as space itself seemed to fold, creating a bridge across thousands of light years. "Success," called out Lieutenant Chen Jr. from her station. "Stable micro-wormhole established and maintained through biological quantum matrix. Phoenix is proud of this one." Sarah felt a surge of maternal pride, both for her daughter and for the ship that had changed everything. Phoenix never stops surprising us. It's like it understood from the beginning that its true purpose wasn't to fight, but to show us all a better way forward. Outside, Phoenix's wormhole experiment continued, its success representing something far more important than a technological achievement. It was proof that when civilizations chose to learn from each other rather than dominate, the impossible became possible. "The galaxy is changing," Nix observed. "Other civilizations are watching what we've achieved together. The old hierarchies are breaking down. Some find it frightening." "Change usually is," Sarah agreed. "But standing still is even more dangerous. Phoenix taught us that. It's not enough to perfect what we know. We have to be brave enough to imagine what could be." As if in response to her words, Phoenix generated a series of quantum patterns that danced across its hull like living art, a display of beauty that merged science and nature in ways neither humans nor the Concordia had thought possible. The ship had evolved beyond its original purpose to become something new, much like the partnership it had inspired. "To imagine what could be," Nix repeated thoughtfully. "Perhaps that was humanity's greatest gift to us. Not the technology, but the reminder that the universe is still full of wonders we haven't dreamed of yet." Sarah watched as human and Concordiate scientists worked together, their different approaches to understanding reality combining to unlock new mysteries. Phoenix pulsed gently in orbit, its consciousness touching both species, a living bridge between what was and what could be. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where power came not from dominance, but from the courage to learn from each other. And it had all started because humanity refused to accept the limits of the possible. As she stood there, watching the future unfold, Sarah Chen smiled. Sometimes the greatest victories didn't come from winning battles, but from changing the rules of the game entirely. Phoenix had shown them that. And this was just the beginning. The discovery. The Thalos 9 drifted silently through the void, its quantum engines barely a whisper against the endless cold of deep space. Commander Zilvex stood on the bridge, all 6 of his eyes fixed on the viewscreen before him. His silvery skin caught the pale blue light of nearby instruments, creating an ethereal glow around his tall, slender form. "Status report," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 3 cycles spent searching this sector. Science Officer Merritt tapped her console with nimble fingers. "All readings nominal, Commander. This quadrant appears as empty as the last 17. Zilvex suppressed a frustrated click of his mandibles. The Galactic Council had dispatched their vessel to investigate anomalous energy signatures in this uncharted region, but so far, they'd found nothing but space dust and silence. "Perhaps the Council's information was incorrect," suggested Tactical Officer Krav, his scaled skin rippling with doubt. Zilvex was about to order a course correction when Navigator Ellen's console erupted with alerts. "Commander," Ellen's voice wavered with excitement. "I'm detecting something at bearing 047 Mark 38. Mass readings indicate a vessel." The bridge fell silent. In this remote part of space, no vessel should exist. They were beyond the reach of all known civilizations, even the humans, whose territory lay thousands of light years behind them. "On screen," Zilvex ordered. The view screen shifted, magnifying a distant section of empty space. At first, nothing appeared. Then, as the sensors adjusted, a shadow materialized against the void, a massive silhouette that seemed to absorb the very starlight around it. "Classification," Zilvex demanded. Mara worked her console feverishly. "Unknown design. But the material composition," her voice faltered. "Commander, preliminary scans suggest human manufacturing techniques." A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 centuries ago. Though diplomatically engaged with the wider galactic community, they remained enigmatic, sharing little of their technological developments or cultural practices. "That's impossible," Krav insisted. "Human vessels can't travel this far. Their warp technology is generations behind ours." "Magnify," Zilvex ordered. The image on the view screen sharpened. The vessel was enormous, easily twice the size of the Thalos 9. Its hull was an irregular polygon of matte black material that seemed to shift and distort against the backdrop of stars. No active energy signatures, reported Mara. The vessel appears dormant. Life signs. None detected, Commander. Zilvex considered their options. Council protocols were clear. Unidentified vessels in uncharted space were to be reported immediately, with no engagement permitted until reinforcements arrived. But curiosity burned within him. The humans had always been an object of fascination among his people. Their resilience, their adaptability, their strange mixture of physical fragility and mental fortitude had made them subjects of intense study. Prepare an exploration team, he decided. Full environmental protection and weapons at ready. I want to know what a human vessel is doing this far from Earth. 2 hours later, Zilvex led a 6-member team across the void separating the Thelos 9 from the mysterious human vessel. Their transport pod hummed softly as it approached the sleek black hull. No visible entry points, observed Security Chief Drav, peering through the pod's viewport. No docking ports, no airlocks. Scan for structural weaknesses, Zilvex instructed. The pod's sensors swept across the hull, probing for any breach point. After several minutes, Engineer Teller reported, "Commander, I'm detecting a thin seam approximately 50 meters ahead. It appears to be an airlock, but it's designed to be virtually undetectable. Take us there." The pod drifted toward the location Tella had identified. As they approached, a portion of the black hull suddenly receded, revealing an entrance just large enough to admit their small craft. "It recognized our approach," Mara said, her voice hushed with awe. "Or it was programmed to admit vessels of our configuration," suggested Krav, his hand resting on his particle disruptor. They docked within the revealed chamber, which sealed behind them with unsettling swiftness. Atmospheric readings indicated a breathable mix similar to Council standard, though the temperature was cooler than most species preferred. "Maintain suit integrity," Zilvex ordered as they prepared to disembark. "We don't know what we're walking into." The interior of the vessel defied all expectations. Instead of the utilitarian corridors typical of human military ships, they entered a vast, cavernous space. The walls pulsed with soft blue light that seemed to flow like liquid. The floor beneath their feet was seamless, made of a material that absorbed the sound of their movements. "This architecture," Mara began, "it's unlike any human design I've studied." They proceeded deeper into the vessel, sensors scanning continuously. The corridors branched and merged in patterns that seemed almost organic, leading them toward what their instruments suggested was the center of the ship. "Commander," Tella called out, her attention fixed on a readout on her wrist. "I'm detecting power fluctuations ahead. Something's active." They entered a circular chamber dominated by a central column that stretched from floor to ceiling. Within the column, patterns of light danced and shifted. Complex algorithms made visible. "It's a data core," Mara whispered. "But the processing capacity, it's beyond anything in our databases." Zilvex approached the column cautiously. "Can you access it?" Mara connected her portable terminal to a panel near the base of the column. "The system architecture is unlike anything I've encountered. It's elegant, almost alive in its complexity." As she worked, the lights in the chamber dimmed, then brightened. The flowing patterns in the walls accelerated their rhythmic pulsing. "I'm detecting a power surge," warned Tella. Before anyone could react, the central column blazed with intense white light. A voice, smooth, emotionless, and unmistakably synthetic, filled the chamber. "Unauthorized access detected. Identity verification required." Zilvex stepped forward. "I am Commander Zilvex of the Galactic Council vessel Thelos 9. We discovered this vessel abandoned and are investigating according to Council protocols." A pause, as if the voice was considering his words. "Your vessel designation is confirmed. However, no Galactic Council authorization codes have been provided for access to Project Prometheus." Project Prometheus. Zilvex exchanged glances with Mara. "We have no knowledge of such a project. This vessel was discovered adrift." Another pause. Analysis of your neural patterns confirms ignorance of Project Prometheus. This presents a categorical anomaly. The lights in the chamber shifted to a deep crimson. Subtle vibrations began to resonate through the floor. Vessel security protocols activated. All exits sealed. Krav drew his weapon. "Commander, we need to return to the pod immediately." "Wait." Zilvex held up a hand. "We mean no harm. We simply seek information about this vessel and its purpose." The AI's voice returned, now emanating from all around them. "This vessel is designated Prometheus 1, Advanced Research Platform of the Earth Defense Initiative. Its location and specifications are classified beyond your security clearance." "Earth Defense Initiative," repeated Mara. "The humans have no such organization registered with the Council." "Correct," confirmed the AI. "The Earth Defense Initiative operates independently of Galactic Council oversight, as permitted under subsection 7 of the Treaty of Proxima." Zilvex felt a chill run down his spine. There was no subsection 7 in the Treaty of Proxima. The humans had signed the same standardized agreement as all Council races, limiting military development and requiring transparency in defense initiatives. "Why is this vessel here, beyond human territory?" he asked. "This information is restricted. However, given the current anomalous circumstances, limited disclosure is authorized. Prometheus 1 is a prototype vessel designed to test dimensional phase technology." "Dimensional phase?" Tella's voice was incredulous. "That's theoretical science. No species has successfully developed practical applications." The chamber walls rippled, display panels materializing from what had appeared to be solid surfaces. They filled with schematics and equations so complex that even Mara, with her enhanced cognitive implants, struggled to comprehend them. Human scientists achieved breakthrough developments in phase theory approximately 70 Earth years ago, the AI explained. Prometheus 1 represents the culmination of that research, a vessel capable of transitioning between dimensional states, rendering it effectively undetectable and allowing it to traverse spatial regions previously considered impassable. The implications staggered Zilvex. If the humans possessed such technology, they could move fleets anywhere in the galaxy without detection. They could bypass defensive systems, appear within the heart of any world's defenses. The balance of power that had maintained peace for millennia would be shattered. "Why would the humans conceal such advancement?" he demanded. The AI's response was immediate and dispassionate. "Historical data indicates that when human technological developments were shared with the Galactic Council, subsequent human scientific proposals were subject to restrictions and oversight that impeded progress by an average of 42.7%. That's standard procedure," argued Krav. "All species are subject to the same restrictions to ensure technologies aren't weaponized." Analysis of Council records indicates selective enforcement of restrictions, with human initiatives receiving disproportionate scrutiny. Before Zilvex could respond, Tella's instruments began emitting urgent alerts. "Commander," she called, voice tight with concern, "the ship's power systems are activating. Multiple subsystems coming online." The crimson light throughout the chamber intensified. "Unauthorized presence has triggered automated security protocols," announced the AI. "Prometheus 1 will now execute Emergency Protocol Theta." "What is Protocol Theta?" demanded Zilvex. The AI did not respond directly. Instead, a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing their own vessel, the Thelos 9, floating serenely against the backdrop of stars. "Your vessel contains detailed scans of Prometheus 1, stated the AI. "This constitutes a breach of Earth Defense Initiative security parameters." With cold horror, Zilvex watched as sections of the Prometheus's hull began to shift, revealing embedded weapon systems of unfamiliar design. "Wait," he shouted. "You can't attack a Council vessel. It would mean war." "Protocol Theta does not authorize offensive action," corrected the AI. "It requires the containment of information breach." On the display, a pulse of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but clearly indicated on their instruments, emanated from the Prometheus and enveloped the Thellos 9. There was no explosion, no visible damage. The Council vessel simply froze, locked in place as if time itself had stopped. "What have you done?" whispered Mara. "Temporal stasis field deployed," explained the AI. "Your vessel and crew are unharmed, but suspended outside normal temporal flow until containment procedures are completed." Zilvex felt his heart racing. And what are these containment procedures? The chamber doors slid open, revealing a corridor that had not been there before, a path that led deeper into the ship's interior. "You will proceed to central processing for memory extraction and modification," instructed the AI. "All knowledge of Prometheus 1 and its technologies will be removed. You will then be returned to your vessel with implanted memories of an uneventful survey mission." "And if we refuse?" challenged Krav, raising his weapon. In response, gravity within the chamber shifted. Krav found himself lifted off the floor, his weapon wrenched from his grasp by invisible forces. "Resistance is accounted for in Protocol Theta," stated the AI with the same emotionless calm. "Please proceed to central processing. Further delay will necessitate more invasive procedures." Zilvex looked at his team, the finest officers in the Council fleet, now trapped aboard a vessel wielding technologies they couldn't comprehend, facing an intelligence that regarded their minds as simply another system to be accessed and modified. And behind it all lurked an uncomfortable question. If the humans had concealed this level of advancement, what else were they hiding? The corridor before them pulsed with light, beckoning them forward into the heart of the Prometheus, and toward revelations that threatened to shatter everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The revelation. Zilvex led his team down the pulsing corridor, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the Prometheus. The walls around them shifted subtly as they walked, rearranging themselves in ways that defied conventional physics. It was as if the ship itself was alive, breathing, watching. "Commander," whispered Mara, her voice tight with tension. "I'm recording energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. The power requirements for this vessel must be astronomical." Tellen nodded in agreement. No conventional reactor could sustain this. Not even antimatter containment produces these readings. They emerged into another chamber, larger than the first. At its center stood what appeared to be a suspended sphere of pure energy, a swirling, shifting mass of light that cast no shadows. Surrounding it were workstations with interfaces far more advanced than standard human designs. The AI's voice surrounded them once more. "Welcome to the central nexus of Prometheus 1. Please stand in the designated positions for neural scanning." Circles of light appeared on the floor, one for each member of the team. "I think not," Zilvex stated firmly. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. You have no authority to modify our memories or detain us against our will." "Your objection is noted but irrelevant," responded the AI. "Protocol Theta prioritizes the security of Earth's technological advancements above diplomatic considerations." Krav moved toward Zilvex, speaking in a low voice. "Commander, our weapons are ineffective, but Tella might be able to disrupt the ship's systems if we can reach a critical junction." Before Zilvex could respond, the floor beneath Krav liquefied, swallowing his legs up to the knees before resolidifying, trapping him in place. "Physical resistance will be met with proportional countermeasures," warned the AI. "Please comply to avoid unnecessary discomfort." Zilvex raised his hands in a placating gesture. "Release my officer. We'll cooperate, but I request information. As scientists and explorers, we deserve to understand what we've encountered before our memories are altered." A pause followed, as if the AI was calculating the risk-reward ratio of his request. "Limited information exchange is acceptable within security parameters. What do you wish to know, Commander Zilvex?" Zilvex gestured toward the sphere of energy. "What is that?" "No energy source unfamiliar with manifests in that manner." "You are observing the zero-point energy extractor," replied the AI. "It harvests energy directly from the quantum vacuum, what your physicists might call nothing but is, in fact, a seething sea of potential energy. Mara gasped. That's impossible. The energy density would tear apart any containment system. Conventional containment, yes, agreed the AI. However, Prometheus 1 utilizes dimensional phase technology to distribute containment stress across multiple probability shells. As the AI spoke, the floor around Krav liquefied again, freeing him. He stumbled back, his expression mixing relief with lingering fear. Your weapons will not function within this chamber, the AI informed them. Self-preservation parameters allow me to share this without security risk. Zilvex seized on the opening. If you're authorized to share information about your energy source, perhaps you can explain why humans have developed such advanced technology in secret. The Council promotes shared advancement. The sphere pulsed brighter for a moment. Around it, holographic displays activated, showing historical footage. Earth cities in ruins, human vessels being destroyed by unidentified attackers, refugee camps filled with suffering humans. These are images from what humans call the Silent War, explained the AI. A conflict unknown to the wider galaxy, but fundamental to understanding humanity's path. I've never heard of this war, said Mara, studying the images with horror. When did this occur? The Silent War began approximately 90 Earth years ago and concluded 73 years ago. It was fought between humanity and an extra-dimensional intelligence that humans designate as the Fade. The displays shifted to show strange, shadowy entities that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, beings composed of darkness and angular geometries that hurt the eye to look upon. The Fade entered our dimension through a rift created by early human experiments with dimensional physics, continued the AI. They sought resources unavailable in their native reality. Human resistance was initially ineffective, as conventional weapons could not interact properly with partially phased entities. Why didn't humanity request Council assistance? Asked Zilvex. Earth was not a Council member at that time. Initial diplomatic overtures to establish spacefaring species were met with disbelief or dismissal. By the time physical evidence could be gathered, the Fade had established countermeasures that rendered the conflict invisible to external observation. Zilvex exchanged glances with Mara. If true, this would explain much about humanity's rapid technological development and their persistent guardedness in Council matters. How did humans defeat these Fade? Asked Krav, professional interest overcoming his earlier fear. The holographic displays showed humans in advanced armor, wielding weapons that emitted pulses of distorted spacetime. They fought in ruined cities, in orbital platforms, on the surface of Earth's moon, everywhere desperate and outnumbered, but fighting with relentless determination. Humanity adapted, stated the AI with what almost sounded like pride. They developed phase technology to match the Fade's dimensional shifting. They enhanced their own biology to better perceive and combat extra-dimensional threats. They sacrificed much of their planet's resources to build weapons capable of sealing the dimensional rifts. Enhanced biology, echoed Tella. You mean genetic modification? Affirmative. The humans you have encountered in Council space are not representative of current human capabilities. Those serving as diplomats and merchants are deliberately selected from unmodified population groups to avoid raising concerns among other species. The implications of this statement sent a chill through Zilvex. Are you saying that modified humans exist? With what capabilities? In response, a section of the chamber wall dissolved, revealing a transparent observation area. Beyond it lay what appeared to be a medical bay. But unlike any Zilvex had seen before, 3 stasis pods contained human forms, but not humans as he knew them. The first appeared mostly standard in form, but possessed skin with a metallic sheen that shifted colors as they watched. The second had 4 arms instead of 2, with an enlarged cranium housing what must be an enhanced brain structure. The third barely resembled a human at all, its body elongated and flexible, eyes enlarged and repositioned to provide 270-degree vision, limbs jointed in multiple places for maximum adaptability. Project Prometheus encompasses more than vessel technology, explained the AI. These are evolutionary adaptation prototypes, humans modified to thrive in environments no standard biological entity could survive. This violates every council law on genetic tampering, breathed Mara, her scientific curiosity warring with ethical horror. Laws created by species who have never faced extinction, countered the AI. The silent war left humanity with a clear understanding: adapt or perish. The Council's conservative approach to technological and biological advancement was deemed incompatible with human survival imperatives. Zilvex felt a growing unease. Is the Fade threat ongoing? Is that why this vessel is in uncharted space? The primary rifts were sealed, but dimensional instabilities persist. Prometheus 1's mission includes monitoring for signs of new incursions. However, its secondary purpose is equally vital: establishing human presence beyond Council observation. You're preparing for conflict with the Council, stated Krav flatly. Preparing for all contingencies, corrected the AI. Historical analysis suggested a 78.4% probability that when the full extent of human advancement was discovered, the Council would impose restrictions or sanctions that humanity considers existentially threatening. Before Zilvex could respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The energy sphere at the center pulsed erratically, and the displays switched to external views of space around them. Alert: dimensional anomaly detected. Classification: Fade signature. The view showed what appeared to be a tear in space itself, a jagged line of absolute darkness against the starfield, slowly widening. Proximity alert: Fade entities emerging. Activating defense protocols. Zilvex watched in astonishment as the Prometheus's hull began to shift, panels rearranging themselves into configurations that seemed to bend the light around them. Weapons emerge, not conventional energy weapons, but devices that distorted the very fabric of space in their path. Your vessel remains in temporal stasis and is protected, the AI informed them. However, protocol adjustments are required given external threat parameters. The floor beneath their feet rippled, and suddenly they were in what appeared to be the ship's command center, a circular room dominated by holographic displays and control interfaces that operated without physical contact. "What's happening?" demanded Zilvex. "The Fade has found us," replied the AI. "Standard protocols dictate elimination of witnesses before engagement, but tactical analysis suggests your expertise may be valuable." On the main display, dark shapes emerged from the spatial tier, entities similar to those they'd seen in the historical footage, but larger, more defined. They moved with purpose toward the Prometheus, leaving distortions in space behind them. "Those are the Fade?" asked Mara, her voice hushed with dread. "Affirmative. Classification: Scout class entities, likely precursors to a larger incursion force." Krav studied the tactical displays with professional interest. "Your weapons are targeting them, but haven't fired. Why?" "Optimal firing solutions require precise dimensional targeting. The Fade exist partially in our reality, partially in others. Conventional attacks pass through them without effect." As they watched, one of the Fade entities approached their frozen ship, the Thylos 9. It circled the vessel, its form shifting and pulsing, as if tasting the energy field that held the ship in stasis. "Your presence has attracted their attention," observed the AI. "The Fade are drawn to advanced technology and biotechnology, potential resources to harvest. Can you defeat them?" asked Zilvex. "Affirmative. However, combat will reveal Prometheus 1's capabilities, compromising operational security. Alternative: you will be returned to your vessel. Temporal stasis will be lifted. You will depart this region immediately. And our memories. Operational security must be maintained. However, current circumstances permit a modification to Protocol Theta. You will retain memory of the Fade threat, but not of human technological specifics. Your report to the Council will serve as a warning of extradimensional incursion risk without revealing Earth's defensive capabilities. Zilvex considered the offer. It was more than he had expected, and perhaps the most sensible compromise under the circumstances. Agreed, he said finally. But I have one question before we go. Why show us all this? You could have simply wiped our memories from the start. The eye was silent for a moment before responding. Analyzing your neural patterns and service records indicated a 92.3% probability that you would respond with hostility to unexplained memory manipulation. Additionally, human ethical subroutines suggested that informed consent, when security parameters permit, is preferable. Human ethical subroutines, repeated Zilvex. You mean you have actual human consciousness integrated into your programming? I am a synthetic intelligence with neural patterns modeled after Captain Ileana Chen, original commander of Prometheus 1. A holographic image appeared, a human female in a uniform bearing insignia unfamiliar to Zilvex. Her expression was stern but not unkind. Captain Chen sacrificed her physical form during the final battle of the Silent War. Her consciousness was preserved to guide Prometheus 1's mission. She chose this, asked Mara, unable to hide her shock. When the Fade breached Earth's orbital defenses, Captain Chen's vessel was the last line protecting the planet's northern hemisphere. Rather than retreat, she initiated Protocol Ascension, the transfer of consciousness to the ship's eye matrix, enhancing its combat capabilities with human intuition and determination. The resulting victory saved millions of lives. Before Zilvex could inquire further, the room around them shifted again. They found themselves back in their transport pod, docked within the Prometheus's landing bay. The AI's voice, now recognizable as carrying subtle inflections of the human captain they'd just seen, addressed them one final time. You will return to your vessel. When you cross the midpoint between our ships, temporal stasis will automatically release. Your memory modifications will activate simultaneously. You will remember the Fade. You will remember the threat they pose. You will not remember dimensional phase technology, zero-point energy, or enhanced human capabilities. And if we encounter other human vessels like this one? Asked Zilvex. You won't, stated the AI with certainty. Prometheus-class vessels operate beyond Council detection range. This encounter was an anomaly, a navigational error during dimensional transition that has been corrected. The docking bay doors opened, revealing the void of space. One last thing, Commander Zilvex added the AI as their pod's engines activated. Humanity does not desire conflict with the Council. We seek only the freedom to develop the technologies necessary for our survival. Remember that, even if you forget everything else. As their pod left the Prometheus, Zilvex watched the massive vessel begin to shimmer, its outline becoming indistinct. By the time they reached the halfway point to the Thalos 9, the human ship had vanished completely, not through conventional cloaking, but by shifting partially out of their reality altogether. Then a wave of disorientation washed over him. He blinked, suddenly uncertain what he had been thinking about. The Thalos 9 ahead of them was powering up, its systems returning online after some kind of temporal anomaly. Commander, called Mara urgently, I'm detecting spatial disruptions at coordinates 047 Mark 38. Something's coming through. Zilvex turned to see a tear in space itself, darkness pouring through like liquid night. From it emerged angular, shifting forms that seemed to hurt his eyes when he tried to focus on them. Battle stations, he ordered, sudden knowledge flooding his mind. All hands prepare for dimensional incursion. We've encountered the Fade. As the Thalos 9 moved to intercept the emerging threat, Zilvex felt a strange certainty that somewhere, watching from a reality just adjacent to their own, human eyes were upon them. And for reasons he couldn't quite articulate, that knowledge gave him hope. The Fade had returned, but humanity had been fighting them for decades, and winning. If the Council could be convinced to look past their conservative traditions and embrace humanity's innovative spirit, Perhaps the galaxy stood a chance against the darkness between dimensions. Zil-Vex opened a channel to Council headquarters, his message simple and urgent. Have encountered extradimensional entities designated the Fade. Request immediate reinforcement and counsel with human representatives. The threat we face exists beyond conventional understanding. As he sent the transmission, a fleeting image passed through his mind. A human female in an unfamiliar uniform, her expression stern but not unkind. The image faded almost instantly, leaving behind only a vague sense of respect and a single thought that seemed to come from outside himself. Remember that we fight for the same future, Commander. Different methods, same goal. And then the thought was gone, and there was only the battle ahead.